What's up? Welcome to Updates with Mr. Warford. This is for my integrated social studies people. Believe it or not, we're done with Unit 3 and we're starting Unit 4 on this wonderful day that you're watching this. Unit 4 is over the executive branch. We've already finished the legislative. We're going into the executive, so we're going into the second of the three branches of U.S. government. The expectations that we're checking Google Classroom, especially during the non-traditional instruction that we're in at this moment that you're watching this video for my 2020-2021 students. So we're checking Google Classroom for new due dates today. Remember, I always post that in the important due dates section of Google Classroom. This unit, you're going to have one current event due by the end. You're going to have one quiz, and you're going to have one exam for Unit 4. So make sure that we're aware of that. Make sure that we're turning in our work in a timely manner. Make sure that you're logging into Google Meets. Remember that those are now required. Sorry for the confusion about that from my end before we left for round 2 of all virtual instruction for my 2020-2021 students. But that is the requirement. You need to join the Google Meets. And then coming up, there's going to be a midterm exam, and I'm going to give you more information about that very soon, so don't worry. Just some reminders as I'm grading stuff from Unit 3. We've still got some people confused about current events. Okay, make sure that you follow all the guidelines for current events, unless you have had a previous discussion with me and there's some reason you need to type them, you're handwriting them. Make sure that they're not incomplete forms. Make sure that you're citing your sources. Going forward, if you are only writing 2 lines and turning it in as a current event, if you're not citing your source, things like that, I will take points off. If there is just not barely anything there, I will give you a 0 until you fix it. So make sure that we are completing all parts of current events. I give you the entire unit to do it. So far, units have been 3 to 4 weeks. I feel like that is more than enough time to write a page about something going on in the world. I'm still getting some people that are confused about how to do them. Like, what is this? How do I do this? If you remember back, hearken back to the beginning of the year, the first 3 days of school, we completed this assignment. There's a video, there's guidelines, there's an example, there's the form, there was a reflection that we did asking if you had any questions. So if your current event does not look something like this, we're not doing it correctly. So make sure that you are following all the guidelines and completing those by the end of the unit, because we're going to do those every unit till till the year is over. So make sure we're completing those. Also, make sure to complete work in a timely manner. 0s on assessments will bring your grade down a lot while we're doing distance learning or virtual instruction. And remember, Google Meets are required. If we're not making contact in some way, you're counted as not present, which is a no-no. So you're going to have 4 weeks, not counting the midterm week and not counting winter break, to get your Unit 4 current event done. So make sure that you get it. So what is the executive branch? The executive branch executes, or carries out laws that are made by Congress. That's its main job. It's talked about in Article 2 of the Constitution. Who makes up the executive branch? We've got the president. He's the head of the executive branch and considered the leader of our country. The vice president, who's like the second in command. That's the second highest office of the executive branch. You have the cabinet, which is a group of advisors to the president. And then you have something called the bureaucracy, which is all the departments and agencies that make up the executive branch. And there's an estimated 3 million people that work in the government technically for the executive branch. Over time, presidents have acquired more responsibilities and roles. Compared to George Washington, our first president, to our current president, the roles of the president have increased a lot. There's a lot more power there. There's a lot more responsibility there. With those roles, they have different powers that they can use to affect government. So the president is thought of by the American people as its leader, its figurehead. It's someone who represents our nation. Citizens of the United States want a strong leader, but checks exist that limit the president's power. So that's a very difficult job. You want to be strong, or seen as strong by the American people if you're a president, but the Constitution has ways to rein you in. So you've got to work around that or work within the parameters of our Constitution. So it's a hard job. Each president has a specific leadership style that can either help them or hinder them. And I'm sure while I was talking, you were looking at these pictures and you were like, Warford, what the heck is this? An example of a leadership style. Lyndon B. Johnson, he was a president in the 1960s. He was known to be very persuasive, and he would be persuasive by either flattering you, talking about how great you are, talking about how much he needed you to be successful to run the government. Or he would also threaten you. He'd call you on the phone and say, what the heck are you doing? You need to do better. So he would encourage, he would flatter, he would also straight up threaten people to get what he wanted. So he was known as a very persuasive president. So the goal for this week is we want to understand how leadership qualities can affect the success of a president or can lead to their failure, because everybody has a different leadership style. Think of like a coach, a teacher, a principal, somebody who's leading other people. Think about your parents, someone who's leading other people. They all have different qualities and styles of leadership that make them successful or sometimes make them fail. So we're going to look at presidents and how their leadership qualities affect how we think of them as history goes on. So our first Unit 4 assignment is going to be called Presidential Styles of Leadership. You're going to read some excerpts and you're going to be practicing some reading comprehension. You're going to be reading a chunk, summarizing it, and then providing an example. So it's going to look something like this. You're going to read this chunk talking about presidents' abilities to communicate. If you had to summarize it in a sentence, what would you write? And then what example from the text is provided about a president? Every section talks about a leadership quality and then talks about specific presidents and how they exhibited that, or in some cases didn't show that. So you are going to provide a sentence summary and then an example of a president from the text from that chunk. I hope that makes sense. If not, you can shoot me a message and let me know. What we want to avoid is copy and pasting this word for word back in here. I want you to use your own words. I want you to use your own reading comprehension skills. If somebody looked at you and said, summarize this paragraph in one sentence, what would you say? And then type that. And then summarize an example from the text. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, I'll be here for you either through the Google Meets or through shooting me a message. So let me know. Have a great day. See ya.